This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first, like to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
You know what's smart? Enjoying a fresh gourmet meal at home that you didn't have to cook. Meet Factor, your loophole in the laws of mealtime. Chef-crafted meals delivered with a tap, ready in just 2 minutes. You know what's even smarter? Treating yourself without cheating your goals. Factor is dietitian approved, chef prepared, and you plated. Pretty smart, huh? Refresh your routine and eat smart with Factor. Learn more at factormeals.com.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. Sometimes the most painful part of getting sick is the getting better part. Waiting on hold for an appointment, sitting in crowded waiting rooms, standing in line at the pharmacy, that's painful. Amazon One Medical and Amazon Pharmacy remove those painful parts of getting better with things like 24/7 virtual visits and prescriptions delivered to your door. Thanks to Amazon Pharmacy and Amazon One Medical, healthcare just got less painful.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to AI Scouted on Anfield Index Pro. I'm Dave Hendrick, joined as always by Mr. Karl Matchett. How are you, sir?
Very, very solid. 7 out of 10. How are you?
I'm good. I'm still top of the league, and my underpants are not soaked in urine, unlike many of the people I see online, who seem to have reacted very strangely to Arsenal winning a home game against a bottom half Spurs team last night, and have decided that this means Arsenal are now capable of winning 10 in a row, despite the fact that they haven't won more than 3 in a row in the Premier League, and without Bukayo Saka for the foreseeable future. What do you make of it, just the general chat around the quote-unquote title race at the moment?
Interesting. Well, where do we go with this one? I am in the exact same position as I've been in all the way through, and that is you can not win 10 games. Arsenal are 9. So, yes, they can go and win 10 games in a row. That's perfectly fine. They'll still be on 9. They don't get games back if they keep winning games. You know, if they're on 9, it leaves them 29 wins that they can get across the entire season, right? That's 87 points. If they don't drop any more from where they are, I think that's the maximum they'll go to, unless I've just counted things wrongly. From victory, sorry. So add in 7 on that, 94. That's the maximum now. 94 points. That's where they can get to. If anybody is suggesting that Arsenal won't drop another, let's say 2 games even between now and the end of the season, not being defeated, let's remind people of that, not losing games, just not winning. So if you don't think that Arsenal are going to win, what would that be, 6, 17, whatever it is, they're not going to do it, for goodness sake. Yeah, they are closer to us. They are now 4 points behind us. We still have the game in hand. The point is not the 7-point gap. It is the 7-point gap already at this stage of the season.
Yeah.
That's why Liverpool are such heavy favourites. Because even after 3 in the last 6 games that we have not won ourselves, we're still only up to 6, and we're now halfway through the season, beyond halfway through the season. You would expect us to be at this stage with 6 games or so not won. That's what the halfway point is. We didn't really think Liverpool were going to be title challengers this season. We thought we'd be relatively close. So I would expect us to be somewhere around the 90-point mark. That's fine. That would be a title there or thereabouts, let's say, but not necessarily a title fight, unless teams dropped off and it was a less than average season. Now, Manchester City, as we know, have had a less than average season. That's why they are down in 6th. Arsenal have already had a less than average season unless they win out from here on. They're not going to, because they're having a less than average season. They have won 1 of their last 2 games.
This is the thing, like, people were pointing out, oh, Liverpool have dropped points in 4 of their last 7 games. Okay, so Arsenal have dropped points in 3 of their last 7. So there's not a huge difference there. We're in our sticky patch, and they've closed the gap by 2 points. I had an Arsenal fan say to me last night, oh, it was a 9-point lead after match week 11, and now it's down to 4. And I thought, no, it's not, because we have a game in hand. And I'm going to back my team to go to Everton, who are awful, and win. And that's 7 points, which means that in 10 games, you've closed the gap by 2 points. So in another 10 games, if you've closed it by another 2 points, maybe it's a 5-point lead that we have. But there's only 7 games to go at that point. This is the benefit of us having had the start that we had, is that we have a little bit of credit in the bank. And I don't look at this Arsenal team and see a team that's going to be capable of stringing together, long wins of runs, not without Bukayo Saka. And everything I hear is that he's not coming back anytime soon. There are some that believe he might not play again this season, given the surgery he's had in his hamstring. There's others that say he'll be back in March, but probably late March. Late March means April, because there's an international break in the second half of March. So you're telling me Arsenal are going to go through the rest of January, all of February, and the games in March, and they're going to be flawless when they weren't flawless with him? This is the player they tell us is the best in the league, and somehow they're going to be better without him? And I was saying this to Liverpool fans the other day. Like, if we lost Mohamed Salah for 3 months and we lost Cody Gakpo for the rest of the season, does anyone think we could win the league from the position that we're in now? And it was a resounding no. So I followed up and said, well, why do you think Arsenal can do it when they've lost Saka for 3 months and Jesus for the rest of the season? And most people realized they probably can't. Some said, oh, well, they're better defensively than us. But we've played the same. Well, they've actually played 1 game more than us this season, and they've conceded 1 goal more than us. So they're not better defensively. They're more defensive, but they're not better defensively. Do you know what I think it is, Carl? I want to float this theory by you. I think the reason Liverpool fans are so nervous is that in the back of their head, they're thinking City are coming. There's going to be a charge from City, because City have been the boogeyman in the Premier League over the last 7 years. And we've had title runs with them. Arsenal have had title runs with them. And nobody's been able to beat them in a title race. We won a title by blowing them away. Nobody else has won a title. Every time there's been a title race, they have won it. And everybody has that mental scar of City. But City are not a factor this year. And Arsenal are not Manchester City. Not by a long shot. I think that's what it is. I think people's hesitation to be confident behind this team is because in the back of their head, they're just so used to thinking, but what about City?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. Not just the fact that, Man City, but because it's always been someone, because we've always had it very, very difficult to take a title tilt. When we did win the title, we had to be basically perfect, didn't we? That first half of the season, it had to be almost immaculate. And in fairness, because of the same reasons that we've spoken about Arsenal before, because until you do it, it's very difficult for somebody to look at the club and look at the team and think, yeah, they are capable of doing it. So, and not just in terms of the title, but in winning other things. We went to the Champions League final, then we went back to the Champions League final and won it.
Yeah.
The title fight, then we went back in the title fight and won it. So it has always been a very difficult thing for Liverpool, but they have proven that they've been able to take the next step several times. Not all the members of this team, obviously, but Arsenal have not. Arsenal have not actually taken that next step. Yeah, they've been in title fights. They've been... I don't even think that they've been in a title fight. We went over this, but let's not split hairs over it. They've been in and around the number of points that you need for a title.
Yeah.
But they've not taken that extra step where they have gone on and done it. And I don't know, maybe they'll change their January plans and so on and so forth, but I still see enough there to suggest that there are some gaping holes, let's say, in what they might need to go 10 or 15 games where they win the vast majority of them. Let's say Liverpool do slip up or choke or have injuries or call it whatever you want. Let's say Liverpool do drop off. Is it a guarantee that it's Arsenal who takes advantage? I'm not seeing it myself. Yeah, they've only conceded 19 goals. They've also scored 7 fewer than us. Chelsea have scored the same number of goals as them. Manchester City are just behind them. Newcastle are on the best run in the country, form-wise, and they're not an outrageous number of points behind us, a 4 or 5 point gap, something like that. So if Arsenal are supposedly able to make up a jump of 4 points to us, are Newcastle not capable of making 5 up to them? Nottingham Forest are obviously been in very good form as well. Admittedly, we don't expect that to continue at the rate that they have all season, but there's nothing to say that they won't at the same rate as Arsenal will. I don't know. Even that Spurs game last night, they got the win, but you saw how much it cost them, how delighted they were at the end of the game. Players sinking to the knees, loads of real emotion being shown. Yeah, it was a derby, and you want to see that as supporters and all the rest of it. But the point is, it wasn't an easy victory for them.
No.
They had to find. They conceded, shall we say, plenty of chances where they could have conceded another goal. They could have lost it right in the last minute when Porro hit the outside of the post there. Like, this was not a...
No, and look at both of their goals. The first one, Gabriel's header is going nowhere near the goal.
That's a back across goal header.
That's a back across goal header that takes one deflection and then another. It's a complete fluke that it ends up in the net. Not to mention, it shouldn't have been a corner because it goes out off Trossard, but that's by the by. But it's a fluke. And the second goal is a goalkeeping error, where the keepers just misjudged the ball. Now, it's a really good strike by Trossard, and we'll take nothing away from it. But ultimately, without that fluke opening goal, or the equalising goal they get, that's a draw again. And, they've got to play Villa at home next. Villa, who seem to be finding form again. They've got City coming soon. And while it is definitely a wounded Man City, it's still a dangerous Man City. With Haaland, Foden seems to be finding some form. KDB is back. And Arsenal have a bit of a mental block against City. I know they beat them at home last season with that fluke goal that Martinelli took the shot that was going a mile wide and it took a big deflection. But, other than that, they haven't beaten City. They've been playing for draws. And we don't know that won't happen again. Arsenal need to get to 90, right? Everybody always says kind of 90 is the new benchmark, and that's fair enough. To get to 90, Arsenal would need 47 out of 51 points. That's historic greatness. They haven't shown that they're capable of that. I know they did it in the first half of the season 2 years ago, maybe. I don't even think they got to 47, did they? Out of 51. I don't think they did out of the first 51. But that's historic greatness. They don't look like a team capable of it. We need 43 out of a potential 54. That's just a good run. That's not historically great. We've got much more room for error here than they do. Much more room for it. So I don't understand why people are getting upset. I do understand there being some upset over the lack of movement on the transfer front. And in recent days, we've had reports that Arsenal are trying to put together a deal to get Martin Zubimendi, who was obviously our top target in the summer. He decided that mountains were more important than medals, and he stayed there, and now it looks like Arsenal are trying to get him to come in the summer. Now, reports from Spain say he's not even considering that at the moment. He's focused on the season, and he'll decide his future at the end of the year. So you don't really know what... The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. That Arsenal want him, that he's maybe interested, but he might wait and see what other options he has. This has led to Liverpool fans having, mass meltdowns. He's a really good player, Carl, but I have the same concern I had in the summer. I don't think a Zubimendi, Alexis McAllister double pivot has the physicality that you need in this league. I don't think he's the right fit, even though I think he would improve us, because obviously his passing ability is a lot better than Gravenberch's. He doesn't carry the ball as well as Gravenberch. And while he's better positionally than Gravenberch, he's not able to track people as well because he's not as quick or as mobile. So I'm not sure he's actually the right fit for us. I think he would fit well at Arsenal because they've got Declan Rice there who'll do a lot of the fetching and carrying for him. But I don't think Liverpool fans should be too upset about this one. I think there's others out there that fit us a bit better. I mean, today we've got a report that they're trying to sign Benjamin Sesko on a loan, potentially with an obligation to buy in the summer. Benjamin Sesko's talented, but he's really raw. He's really inconsistent. And I don't think he's anywhere close to ready to coming in and starting for a team aiming to win the league.
This is for Arsenal as well, sorry, Sesko.
For Arsenal as well, yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think Sesko is of that level. I think he's capable of playing to that level in, isolated games and with certain performances and so on. But if you're talking about, a big money coming in who's going to make a difference for the title, you are looking at consistency, same as always. And I like Sesko. I think he's a decent player. I think he's, quite explosive and he's got quite a lot to his game. But every week goals is not what it is. And if you're looking at Arsenal and suggesting they need a number 9, they need someone who's going to put the ball in there, you're not just suggesting they need someone who's a good finisher. You're suggesting they need someone who can play and contribute to the team more than Kai Havertz does. And I'm sorry, but that's a fucking lot.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. Ha. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes, and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Yeah, I mean, Kai Havertz is a weird situation at Arsenal. Like, he was bought to play in midfield. He was bought to replace Granit Xhaka. And it didn't work. And the Gabriel Jesus number 9 thing hadn't really worked either. because of the injuries more than anything else. But he also just not a big-time goal scorer. So Havertz gets moved into the number 9 position. And like he does offer quite a bit. And, off ball, he's good. His hold-up play is good. His link play is good. But he's never going to be a 25-goal-a-season striker. He just isn't. It's not who he is, not his game, especially not in the way Arsenal play. But I look at Sesko, like, he's got 13 goals this season in the in Germany. Havertz has 12. He's got 8 goals in the Bundesliga. Havertz has 7 in the Premier League. Last season, Havertz scored 18 in all competition. Sesko scored 14 and played a lot more games. Oh, no, sorry, I had that the wrong way around. Havertz scored 14 and Sesko scored 18. But Sesko played as a striker all year. Havertz played half the year in midfield. Like, I don't even know on a goal-scoring argument, does Sesko win it right now? If you're talking about adapting to a Premier League that has a lot better defenses and a lot better individual defenders than the Bundesliga, especially if he's been asked to come in, and adapt straight away. And Arsenal play a very different style of football than what RB Leipzig play. He's used to playing in the front too. He won't get that with Arsenal.
I mean, just in general personal opinion terms, I think if Arsenal are looking to add more danger, then probably on form and quality, I'd be looking at Martinelli as the player to replace in the front three rather than anything else. You can't really go out and buy a right winger because, well, for starters, they loaned in Sterling, who's on over 100 grand a week at the start of the season to fill that kind of role. Nwaneri has been doing really well this season, and Saka will eventually be back, of course. So I would probably look at the other side of the pitch. And even then, even without Jesus, even without Saka, they do still have a number of players. Like Trossard has been, he's been making noises all season about how much he should be first choice and so on and so forth. You remember his non-celebration after scoring because he had to do it off the bench. Whatever. I don't know. Left side, I think, would probably be Martinelli. I don't think has hit the heights, let's say, over the last 18 months. So I could understand if they wanted to improve, upgrade, or really push him by signing somebody there. But at centre forward, and then you've got to fit Kai in somewhere else. I'm not seeing it myself. Not to make that much difference across 4 or 5 months of the season.
No, and this is the thing. Like, Kai Havertz cost them £65 million. If he's not on the team, you're admitting that the transfer failed. And you can't admit a transfer failed and then go and ask for more money for another transfer. Not 18 months after signing Havertz for such a big fee. And I think you're right. I think on form, Martinelli's the one that you would look to replace. Because he just doesn't really fit in how they play. Like this uber-controlled, very defensive, risk-averse football doesn't suit Martinelli, who really thrives in transition. And a couple of years ago, he had a great season. Last season, he was very hit and miss. But there were games where Arsenal would go 1-up early and then kind of look to transition against teams who opened up a bit against them. And that's where we saw Martinelli have some joy. But he definitely took a big step back last year. And this season, he's been pretty dreadful. So that's the position you're looking to bring in. But there's not a ton of options out there who really fit, because what they need is someone who's going to be a big-time goal scorer. Like, you could go and get someone like Gittins, someone like Nico Williams, someone like Desiree Doué maybe is available if Tavica goes to PSG. None of them are proven goal scorers. And there is a possibility that they all, especially someone like a Nico Williams, would struggle in the same way Martinelli has struggled because there wouldn't be transition opportunities. So I just don't see what the play is for them there. And it's going to be very expensive. Like, if he does want to upgrade his 6, replace Partey, who leaves on a free at the end of the season, upgrade the 9, and upgrade the left wing, what are you talking here? 200 million easy? On top of the 750 he's already spent? Like, at some point it becomes very hard to justify all of this, especially if someone in the ownership just takes a step back and says, right, you signed Ben White for 50 million to play centre-back. It didn't work. He went to right-back, and it was fine. He was pretty good. But then you signed Jurriën Timber to play that role. And by the way, you'd also signed Tommy Asu for that role. So that's over 100 million committed at right-back. You spent big money on Zinchenko. Then he wasn't the right choice. You brought in Calafiori. So you spent big money at left-back. You spent money at centre-back. You brought Declan Rice in for 100 million to be your defensive midfielder and replace Thomas Partey. Now, apparently, you can't live without Thomas Partey. You signed Mikel Moreno last summer, but now you want another 50 million to sign Martin Zubimendi, and you also signed Jorginho a few years ago, so you spent a fortune in midfield, and you're telling us you still need to spend more? You're telling us you don't have depth for Martin Odegaard, but you signed Fabio Vieira for 30 million, and where's he? He's gone on loan. Again, with the Saka thing, you brought in Sterling, where even though Chelsea are paying a massive chunk of his wages, we're still paying him a lot of money, and Ethan Nwaneri is the most highly regarded prospect we've had come along since Saka. You signed Jesus, you signed Havertz, that's 100 million for the number 9 spot. You inherited Martinelli, who, we were certain was the next big thing. Hasn't really worked in the last 2 years. But you did sign Trossard to be a backup. So while you haven't spent huge on the left wing, you have spent. But there's a lot of players I've listed there who aren't playing for them. And I've left off half the players they've signed some of them have already been bombed out of the club. Like, not to mention the fact that you spent 50 million on 2 goalkeepers and sold a keeper to Aston Villa who's won the Ashen Award twice in a row, or twice in 3 years. So at some point, someone has to ask the question of, when is enough in terms of backing him?
Yeah, I think we've done the Arsenal and Arteta expenditure to death, to be honest, on this podcast, and it isn't going to go away, or it isn't going to change, except at some point it has to, because you have to get a return on that. And maybe Arsenal go deeper into the Champions League this year, and that is their return. That's what they're after. But in trophy terms, not at the minute. Certainly not so far.
There's a significant amount of delusion around them, and I think you can sum it up with Declan Rice after last night's game saying, "We are unlucky we didn't score 10 goals tonight. We could have scored 5 or 6 more at least, and that's the most disappointing thing." They had an XG of 1.4 and 4 shots on target. So
I assumed he was talking about the warm-up as well.
Must have been. Maybe he just thinks that every time they get a corner, they should score. Let's dig through some other transfers that are going on quickly. Randall Colomouani going on loan to Juventus from PSG. What do you think of that one?
Very, very Serie A transfer.
It is. I hope there's an obligation to buy that's triggered by like a certain amount of performances, and you watch Juve get him right to the brink and then not let him hit the marker. Omar Marmoush, Man City and Eintracht still locked in talks, according to my best friend Fabrizio Romano. I think that's an odd fit. He's a very good player. I just think it's a really odd fit. I don't know where he actually plays for them if they've got everybody fit and available. Does he play on the wing?
I assume so. I assume one of the floating, attacking midfielders, 8.5, 10.5, 9 3/4 kind of players. I presume he's basically going to be what Alvarez was and fit in as and when needed.
Yeah, and Julian Alvarez left because he wasn't getting enough playing time. So the best of luck with that one, Omar. Blah, 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 blah. Krejcik Kvaratskhelia set to have a medical with PSG tomorrow. This one hurts my soul, Carl. This is one of my favourite players signing for one of my least favourite clubs. I do have questions as to why he's made this decision in his career.
I don't want to talk about this one, Dave.
Let's move past it. So, Axel Disasi being linked with Juventus, and Axel Disasi Bremer centre-back pairing just sounds like madness to me.
A lot will happen.
There'll be a lot of moving parts and that.
I mean, I don't really know what to say about this. I mean, like, we know what Juventus's issue is this season, and it's not defensive solidity, right? It's, how to put this, winning games. Right? So they have the joint second best defensive record in Serie A. They started off the season, I think it was 7 games in a row they didn't concede or something like that, and then eventually they conceded to a last-minute penalty. So it wasn't like they've been woeful defensively. So unless they want depth for some reason, I'm not seeing the need for Disasi. Like, I don't mind Disasi. I think he's a good defender. I've said before, I think Chelsea should probably have included him in their group more than they have this season, but I don't think he's like a transformative player or anything, even in Serie A, or even in the context of where Juve are right now. Like, I don't hate it, but I don't see the need for it, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I agree. It's what he uses the issue there. I'm not sure Randall Kolomuani helps with that.
Yeah, no. Also, Kouani is not the one. Kouani is not the one to end the 13 draws and turn them into more than 7 victories.
No, not at all. Here's one for you, right? So for the last few days, my best friend Fabrizio Romano has been pushing stories about Christopher Nkunku going to Bayern and Matthias Tell going to Chelsea. And these would be separate deals, but obviously connected deals. And I would imagine both players would be significantly overvalued based on the Athletic saying that Chelsea would want between 65 and 70 million for Nkunku, who they signed, I think, for 60, and mostly due to injuries, but regardless of injuries, can only be described as a flop, given his time at Chelsea. Like, there's no way to look at his move to Chelsea and say, well, that's been a success, so his value has held or gone up. This would be where you inflate the value for your balance sheet. So Romano's been pushing these stories. Max Eberl said today, we have a squad that is sufficiently equipped in terms of quantity and quality. We have no interest in doing anything in January. That is verbatim what he said. And Romano has labeled this, Max Eberls confirms Chris Nkunku deal is complicated. Well, no, he's just shut it down. He said they don't want to do anything. So there's nothing complicated about that. It's very simple for Maurizio. They don't want to do that. He also said they don't want to sell Matthias Tell. And Liverpool have been linked with Patrick Dorgu, Milos Kerkez, and Miguel Gutierrez in the last 24 hours, Carl. If you could sign one of them, who would it be and why?
I mean, we did the whole Gutierrez Kerkez debate, didn't we, a couple of weeks back when you were picking five of each position. So I guess we've got to stick with Kerkez from that. I'm not against Gutierrez, who we did bring up at the time, I'm pretty sure, but maybe stick with Kerkez. Who was the third one that you said?
Patrick Dorgu of Lecce.
I know less about Dorgu, to be honest. Certainly not someone that I've watched, but as far as I can remember, I was watching him as a forward, a wide forward. Does he play on?
Yeah, he can play left back, he can play right wing, he can play left wing, play in midfield if you needed him to. He's a bit of a unicorn. He has the same type of physicality that Kerkez has, which is what's appealing about Kerkez.
But you were going to say he has the same physicality as a unicorn there as well, which would be interesting.
It would be very interesting. I'd love to know how you'd measure that unicorn physicality.
I mean, a punctured football every time he tries to head the ball clear, but, you know.
Stick a carrot in the forehead of a horse and go from there.
Well, I don't really know what to say about him at left back. I mean, I very much always like the idea of having somebody in the squad who can play like 6 different positions. That's always a big positive, in my opinion. Although I do admit that is influenced far more by my teenage years on Football Manager signing Nicholas Alexanderson than it is of having James Milner in the real life squad, let's say. Nonetheless, still a good thing to have people who can fill in according to different tactical needs. Out of the other two for outright left back spot, I will still side with Kerkez on a number of reasons, but I just really like the way he defends, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, he's aggressive, he's physical.
Yeah, he's aggressive, but he's like more sort of bulky, get in the way kind of aggressive, if you know what I mean, rather than an over the top kind of Marc Cucurella flying into things kind of way.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of one cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
The NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 plus and present in select states. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.